met humans in combat for the first time and fled before round 2. The Enrel Dominion had conquered over 50 star systems without ever encountering meaningful resistance. Their ships, organic metal hybrids grown in vats and armored in obsidian scales, were faster, deadlier, and smarter than anything most civilizations could hope to field. To them, war was an inevitability, and victory a formality. Their scouts had detected a nascent civilization expanding from a pale blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The species called themselves humans. The Narell War Council laughed at the idea of resistance. Another primitive culture, still clinging to atmospheric fighters and fossil fuel rockets. This wouldn't be a war, it would be a lesson. Overseer Vrock sat atop the coiled throne of the flagship Veil-Zurak, his 8 eyes scanning a live feed of Earth's orbital patterns. Their satellites blinked weak signals, their fleets barely visible on sensors. Behind him, the Dominion fleet stretched across the void, 45 ships, each a masterpiece of biotechnological warfare. They would descend upon this species like a storm. "Initiate first contact protocol," Vrock commanded. "Let them hear the voice of the inevitable." On the bridge of the UNSC Argent Dawn, Commander Elena Vale reviewed the incoming transmission. Her crew, veterans of skirmishes with pirates and rogue AI colonies, fell silent. The projection formed, a towering creature of sinew and chitin, voice like grinding steel. "This system now belongs to the Narell Dominion. You will not resist. Evacuate all orbital facilities and prepare for immediate subjugation. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization." Elena stood slowly. "Lieutenant, open a channel." The reply was short, precise, measured. "We acknowledge your message, and we have one of our own." She nodded to her weapons officer. A surge of plasma fire erupted from the Argent Dawn, lancing across the void toward the nearest Enrel vessel. It struck true, but the enemy ship's hull absorbed the impact like water swallowing a pebble. The bridge of the Veil-Zurak trembled with amusement. "Pitiful," Vrock muttered. "Let them spend their fury. Soon they will learn." But deep within the solar system, away from prying eyes, humanity's real preparations stirred. This was not their first warning. And it would not be their last. The Narell's fleet surged toward Earth's orbit, confident, unified, and oblivious. They had witnessed humanity's first gesture, an opening shot that barely dented their armor, and dismissed it as desperation. But as they pressed inward, strange patterns emerged. Scout drones vanished near Jupiter's shadow. Sensor ghosts flickered near Mars. An entire recon wing went silent over Titan. Inside the Veil-Zurak, Overseer Vrock scowled at the star map. "Update all tactical feeds. I want confirmation. Now." His lieutenants scrambled. Neural relays fired. Bioprocessors hummed. But each request returned the same result. No data, no signal, no trace. Far below in the depths of Earth's crust, the real defense stirred. Humanity's secret fleet, designated Project Black Flame, had never been charted, never shown in public, and never mentioned in interstellar briefings. These ships were built not in orbit, but within the hollowed bones of extinct volcanoes, beneath glaciers, under oceans. The Acheron, first among them, drifted silently under the polar ice cap of Europa, cloaked in a thermal mirage field. Inside, Commander Reyna Soros ran final checks. "Engines cold?" she asked. "Silent as space," her XO replied. "They won't see us until we're on top of them." "Good," Soros said, "because the Dominion thinks this is the first time they've met humans in combat. Let's make sure they remember it as their last." The first blow came not from Earth, but from the dark. A Narell cruiser drifting near Mars spun out of control, engines erupting in silent fury as its own systems overloaded. Before they could analyze the explosion, another disappeared. Then another. No weapons fire, no visible attackers. Just silence, and then debris. On board the Argent Dawn, Elena Vale watched it unfold in real time. "They're hitting blind," she murmured. "Who's active?" Her screen blinked. "Black Flame, Operation Emberfall Phase 1 confirmed." Elena smiled. "Welcome to the shadows." In the Vale Zurak, Overseer Vrak screamed as another command ship blinked off sensors. "What are they using? Where is the enemy?" His second-in-command Paleth whispered, We don't know. They don't appear to be anywhere. Yet our ships die." Vrak's gaze hardened. "Then we are at war with ghosts." He was wrong. They were at war with humans. The Dominion had always believed in superiority through vision. See first, strike first, conquer without pause. But the skies above Earth held no clarity, no pattern, only chaos masked in silence. The Vale Zurak now floated in high-alert posture. Its defensive arrays spun furiously, scanning for threats it couldn't define. Narell command protocols prioritized direct confrontation. They had no concept of war by concealment. They did not understand the dark. But humans did. Above the clouded reach of Saturn, the Acheron emerged from its veil. Alongside it, 5 more ships activated from cryosleep docking bays. The Vesper Lance, Stygian Halo, Borealis Spear, Spectre's Crown, and Talon of Soul. Commander Rhinoceros surveyed the fleet's formation. "Begin silent sync," she ordered. "All wings report Darklink status." Across the void, lights winked green on her display. Human ships didn't broadcast, they listened. They didn't move in squadrons. They stalked in silence. "Target pattern acquired," whispered her tactical AI. "Dominion vulnerability at 42.7%. Suggest coordinated strike within 13 minutes. Reyna allowed herself a rare smile. "Let's show them the sky isn't theirs." The first coordinated strike came swift and merciless. The Spectre's Crown fired a single antimatter dart, a filament-thin lance of annihilation that pierced the hull of a Narell destroyer. The ship folded in on itself like crushed paper, silent in the vacuum. A second vessel lost control of its gravity wells, spinning into its neighbor. Collision. Detonation. The Vesper Lance activated a new Terran weapon, a cold field displacer. A patch of space 20 kilometers wide simply ceased to function. 4 Narell cruisers vanished. No wreckage, no alarms. In the Dominion's command channel, panic bloomed. "Dozens of vessels unresponsive. Where are they coming from? Nothing on scanners? Our systems are blind." Vrak's claws pierced the armrest of his throne. "This is not war. This is extermination. We must regroup. Pull back, now." For the first time in Dominion history, a retreat order was issued before the enemy had even been seen. Back aboard the Argent Dawn, Commander Elena Vale received the update. The Dominion fleet had begun a staggered withdrawal. "They're fleeing," her XO said in awe. Elena nodded. "Good. Let them run, but make sure they remember what chased them." Above Earth, the sky was no longer empty. It belonged to humans. The retreat was disorganized. Dominion ships scattered into multiple trajectories, trying to find paths out of the Sol system. But space was no longer safe. The Talon of Soul ambushed 2 fleeing frigates near Pluto's orbit, disabling propulsion systems before they could jump. The humans didn't destroy them. Instead, they transmitted a message. "This is mercy. You get it once." On the other side of the system, the Stygian Halo cracked open a Dominion command barge with precision strikes that exposed its memory cores. As it drifted helplessly, Terran recovery drones moved in, not to loot, but to archive. The data would be studied, not for revenge, but for defense. In orbit of Neptune, a final showdown unfolded. The Vale Zurak, flanked by the remaining 3 Dominion dreadnoughts, turned to make a stand. Overseer Vrak, his pride bleeding into rage, activated every weapon system, broadcasting a final challenge into open space. "Humans, if you have any honor, face us. Let this end with fire." The reply came in silence. The Terran fleet didn't charge. They descended, cloaks deactivated, lights flared. The sky lit up with the cold logic of orbital geometry, every ship in exact position for a perfect encirclement. The Dominion's dreadnoughts opened fire first. Great arcs of plasma, antimatter shells, and radiation beams carved through the void. But Earth's ships didn't meet fire with fire. They moved. They flowed. Each maneuver choreographed through quantum-tethered guidance. Beams missed. Missiles lost lock. Even gravity wells had no purchase. Then the counterstrike came. It wasn't a volley. It was a statement. The Acheron launched a single kinetic rod, an ancient weapon by design, but guided by near-light AI. It tore through the lead dreadnought, splitting it from prow to stern. The Borealis spear unleashed gravity inversion pulses, folding the space between the Veil Zorak and its escorts, causing the Dominion ships to collide at relativistic speeds. The sky above Neptune burned with the silent chaos of annihilation, and when the light faded, nothing moved. The Terran fleet stood alone. Not triumphant, not cruel, just resolute. The Sol system was quiet again, but not the same. Debris from the Dominion fleet drifted aimlessly, reflecting the soft light of distant stars. Terran cleanup drones worked in steady silence, collecting wreckage, scanning cores, and uploading encrypted logs to Earth's Central Command. At Gaia Station in lunar orbit, Commander Elena Vale addressed the United Terran Assembly through secure hololink. Her tone was calm, but behind her eyes lay steel. The incursion was repelled without planetary loss. Black Flame protocols remained secure. Casualties, minimal. Civilian exposure, 0. Tactical integrity, uncompromised. One of the delegates leaned forward. And the Dominion? Elena's voice dropped an octave. They ran, but not fast enough to forget. On the Acheron, Commander Reyna Soros stood with her officers in the war room. A new holomap expanded before them, not of battle lines, but of emerging signals. Alien species long subjugated by the Dominion were broadcasting requests, not for aid, not for weapons, for truth. Their empire didn't just fall here, Soros murmured. It fractured everywhere, words spreading, fast. Her tactical officer smiled. So we're a symbol now? No, she said. We're a mirror. We showed them what was possible. Now they'll decide what to become. On the shattered remains of the Veil Zorak, an emergency beacon pulsed weakly. Overseer Vrak, half buried in organic wreckage, groaned as medbots scurried across his chest. His vision flickered. Scorched metal. Failed honor. He reached for the console and activated a final transmission. Warning to all systems, do not engage the Terrans. They do not fight to win, they fight to end you. Back on Earth, the story was told in whispers, then songs, then documentaries. The public would never see every detail. But they would know this much. Humanity had been tested and responded not with rage, but precision. The Dominion fled not from force, but from fear of a foe that fought in silence, in shadows with purpose. The stars no longer belonged to conquerors. They echoed with a new dawn. On a wind-blasted plateau of Varnus IV, where once Dominion banners fluttered with pride, a group of school children planted Terran peace markers. Small metallic pylons, each bearing the inscription, "Freedom requires memory." The galaxy was scarred, yes, but it was healing. Commander Reyna Soros stood beside the students, helmet tucked beneath one arm, observing the sky with distant eyes. "Will they come back?" a young girl asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Reyna knelt beside her. "Maybe. One day, but next time they'll remember what happened here, and maybe that will be enough." In the Orion Spur, far from Earth's light, a Terran research team uncovered encrypted Dominion archives. What they found shocked even the most cynical analysts. Earth's strength was no secret. The Dominion had known, at least partly, but they had convinced themselves that fear alone would silence resistance. They had studied humanity's wars, not their resolve. They misread fire as fury, not warning. A memo scrawled in broken syntax echoed in the briefing chamber. "Terrans do not conquer. They extinguish what threatens, then disappear." Elena Vale returned to Earth. Her ship entered low orbit as the blue marble came into view, scarred and beautiful. Home. She opened a channel to the Academy. "History must record all of this," she said. "The silence, the strikes, the restraint." "Of course," the archivist replied. "But why emphasize restraint?" Elena stared at Earth. "Because it's the one thing that made us terrifying. In deep space, whispers spread faster than warp. The humans fought like ghosts, struck like machines, and left like gods. And among the stars, those scars, on metal, on memory, remained. Not as warnings, but as proof that peace had a cost. In the cold orbit of Calaris 9, a minor Dominion outpost now under Terran oversight, a strange artifact pulsed weakly, an ancient Terran probe once lost, now recovered. Inside its memory banks were files not of war, but of first contact attempts, diplomacy protocols, and broadcasts of art, language, and peace. It was a reminder, a whisper into the void that humanity had asked nicely once. A war room on Thalos Station, former Dominion allies debated their next move. Some argued for a second offensive. Others remembered too well. A Vectari general slammed a clawed fist on the table. "They let us flee. That was mercy, not defeat." Another hissed. "Then what do we do? Submit?" "No," said the general. "We listen, because next time, there won't be another round." Earth's skies were filled with rebuilding now. Not warships, but new habitats, civilian transports, cultural exchanges. The Terran message was spreading not through force, but reputation. On Calith Prime, a sculptor unveiled a monument titled "Silence Before the Fire." It depicted a human standing still, unarmed, while stars burned in the distance behind them. The inscription read, "When humanity speaks, listen. When they stop speaking, run." Across the stars, fragments of Terran broadcasts were replayed again and again by curious species. A voice describing Earth's first moon landing. A violin performance recorded on a warship during a ceasefire. A lullaby sung by a child as background radiation echoed. The messages were clear. Humanity wasn't just a force. They were a story. And the galaxy was beginning to understand. You do not provoke a people whose legends are written in starlight. In the citadel of Etherian, a neutral seat of galactic diplomacy, once untouched by war, envoys of dozens of civilizations now sat in awkward silence. Where once the Dominion dictated terms, now a single vacant seat remained at the table, reserved for Earth's representative. But Earth had not yet sent anyone. The silence was deliberate. On board the Argent Dawn, Commander Elena Vale reviewed hundreds of communiques from across the stars. Offers, pleas, invitations. All echoed the same message. Teach us. She exhaled slowly. They want to build a new order, but they still don't understand. We're not here to rule. Her communications officer asked, "Then why answer at all?" "Because if we don't, someone else will, and the galaxy might forget the cost of forgetting." In a hidden orbital forge above Luna, the Equinox Protocol was underway. A think tank of Terran scientists, diplomats, and ethicists shaping what a galactic alliance without domination could look like. No central power, one stated. Rotating councils, open data networks, decentralized technology distribution. "And what do we do?" another asked. "When someone tries to dominate again?" They turned to the window, where Earth hung in quiet orbit. "We remind them," came the answer. "We show them the geometry of power has changed." A new map was forming across the stars, not of borders, but of trust. A web of partnerships, interlinked defense pacts, shared research stations, and at its heart, Earth, unmoving, unyielding, unchained. The shape of galactic power was no longer a pyramid. It was a circle, and every world that had once feared humanity now understood. They weren't orbiting a tyrant. They were part of something more enduring. A geometry built on scars and memory. Space is rarely quiet. Radiation hums, stars pulse, comets whisper frozen trails. But after the fall of the Dominion, there was a different kind of silence, one born of watching. No shots fired, no fleets moved, just a galaxy holding its breath. On the Acheron, Commander Reynosoros walked the bridge in silence. Patrols had shifted from aggression to observation. Human ships were now seen not as threats, but as omens. "We're being studied," her exo said. "Let them," she replied. "Let them see what peace looks like when it stands ready to become fire again." On Talos 5, a planet once loyal to the Dominion, its new council debated aligning with Earth. Not from fear, but from belief. A diplomat stood, presenting an image. A Terran child playing in the ruins of a restored plaza, laughing under starlight. This, she said, is what they fought for. Not conquest, continuance. The Galactic Accord drafted its first charter. It bore no Terran logo, no imperial signatures. But every line echoed Earth's legacy. The right to peace shall be defended, not imposed. The right to voice shall not be silenced by strength. And if darkness returns, it will not go unanswered. Commander Elena Vale watched the first unified diplomatic transmission sent from Earth since the war's end. It was simple. We remain ready, not to dominate, to defend. Silence followed, but not the silence of fear, the silence of understanding. The stars were listening again. After months of silence, a signal pulsed from the edge of the Orion expanse. A coded distress call not from a Terran ship, but from a species long thought extinct, the Drevian. Their plea was brief, panicked, and impossibly familiar. Unknown vessels, no markings, power unmatched, request aid, Earth. Earth didn't hesitate. Within hours, the Spectre's crown and Borealis spear launched into warp. They didn't travel as enforcers. They arrived as witnesses. What they found wasn't war, not yet, but it would be soon. The Dreven outpost had been obliterated, its architecture melted into glass, its data cores purged. The only clue? A fracture in local gravity and a faint quantum residue unlike any known technology. Back aboard the Acheron, Commander Reyna Soros analyzed the readings with Elena Vale. "This isn't Dominion tech," Elena said, "and it's not ours." "No," Reyna agreed, "but whoever did this, they made sure Earth would see it." Across the galaxy, systems that had once feared Earth now turned to her for counsel. "If they return," asked the Kalari ambassador, "will Earth stand again?" Elena nodded. "We never stop standing." The Galactic Accord reassembled, no longer hesitant, no longer fragmented. This time, Earth did send a representative. Not a soldier, a teacher. Her voice carried through the chamber. "Peace is not default. It is not a setting. It is a choice, defended by memory and forged in fire. We chose it once, and we will choose it again. But make no mistake, if the sky must speak again, it will roar." And in the silence that followed, the stars held their breath once more. For Earth was not a tyrant. It was the last warning. The Terran response was not fire, but information. Encrypted packages were dispatched to every known sector. Evidence of the Drevian tragedy, analysis of the unknown energy signatures, and Earth's offer. Alliance in preparation, not retaliation. At first, there was fear, then recognition. Earth had learned to teach through action, and now it taught through warning. On the galactic relay hub of Mirren's Hollow, a round table of allied factions studied the Terran reports. The Vectari general who once feared humans now stood as chair of the proceedings. "They do not want war," he said, "but they prepare everyone for the day it finds us again." The room nodded. No argument, only readiness. Commander Reyna Soros addressed her bridge. "This won't be a campaign," she said. "It'll be a test of memory, of what we've learned, and what the galaxy chooses to do with that knowledge." From colony to capital, a quiet revolution unfolded. Star systems once isolated began real-time data sharing. Their war fleets recalibrated as joint defense networks. Languages were exchanged, traditions respected. Not as tribute to Earth, but an echo of its example. At the Galactic Accord, the teacher returned. "The unknown is coming," she said. "We do not know when or how, but we have taught you what we are. Not gods, not tyrants, guardians." And across the stars, readiness bloomed. Because when humans speak, others now listen. The galaxy changed, not with an explosion, but with a whisper. On the memorial world of Thesser 3, where once Dominion atrocities painted the ground red, an eternal flame was lit by a human child. No ceremony, no anthem, just a quiet moment, witnessed by millions. The monument bore no Terran symbols, only a single line. "Let this silence be louder than our wars." In the depths of interstellar archives, a new classification emerged. Terran peace doctrine. It wasn't a military protocol, it was a set of principles, restraint, resolve, and the memory of fire held back. War academies across alien empires now taught Terran restraint as the pinnacle of strength. Not the fire itself, but the decision to withhold it. The unknown force that had silenced the Drevian never reappeared. Maybe it saw the galaxy rise as one. Maybe it listened. Or maybe it simply learned. Elena Vale stood once more aboard the Argent Dawn, now retired as a flagship and reborn as a museum. She addressed the new generation. We fought because we had to, we stayed because we were asked, and we taught because we refused to rule. Reina Soros joined her at the viewport. Do you think they'll remember? They must, Elena said, because our greatest weapon was never the warship. She looked out at the stars. It was the silence that followed. And so, in every corner of the galaxy, when voices rose in anger or fear, a new saying echoed. Remember the silence. Earth taught it well. The end.